All right, so first of all, thank you everybody for coming to our biannual town hall. If you aren't on, or if you are on the stage, please mute yourself or leave the stage. And then, as you know, questions come on, or if questions come up during the town hall, you can either say them in stage chat, or you can raise your hand to speak on the stage. We are trying this new stage thing. We've never used it for a town hall before. We're just playing around to see if it works, and if it works very well, we use it for the next town hall as well. But usually we do them in general chat, and then we end up with sometimes where people unintentionally talk over each other, and then it just gets a little bit confusing. So we are trying this. Let's. I want to do a little bit of a test. Can somebody raise their hand as if they want to say something? I want to just make sure I can see it. Perfect. I love it, because the stage, it lights up on the side there, and it tells me in the chat, because I was worried I was going to miss requests in the actual stage. So thank you everybody for coming. Like I was saying, if this is your first town hall or you're new to the FC, welcome. I'm sure this is going to be a very fulfilling experience for you. For those that have already been at a town halls, I just want to say you guys know the drill. So and I know you guys appreciate these based on our feedback. So we're going to keep on doing them as long as everybody gets value out of these meetings. So for those that are new, what we typically do is twice a year, usually in the spring, and then right before Christmas or the holiday season, we will have a town hall. And the purpose of the town hall is to kind of recap the last 6 months on our FC. Sometimes we plan out the next 6 months. So in the case of a massive expansion coming, we use the town hall to kind of address things that we know will happen, or we anticipate are going to happen when a new expansion drops. And then we have we kind of talk about FC's ethics, morals, and we talk about any changes to our policies in the FC. So we will try to not be, or I'll try to keep it not being boring. I'll try to keep it fun, at least informative. So with every town hall, we do open up the floor with recognition, because one of Waltz's values is helping each other and being kind and caring. So I would like to ask if there's anybody out there that would like to say something positive about a fellow FC mate, maybe somebody went out of their way to help, and you can say it in chat, you can type it in the town hall stage, or you can raise your hand and say it out loud. For anybody who's typing, I'll just repeat it so everybody can see it. So anybody want to give recognition first? Everybody's so quiet. I want to say a huge thank you to Moon and Diana, who worked very hard on our FC census, which I will go into detail at the end of tonight's agenda. I also want to say thank you to both of them again for their really strong focus on recruitment lately. So I'll talk more about recruitment as well later in the agenda. So let me see. Tabitha says thank you, Samson, for pushing me through the FC. Anybody else want to share anything? That's fine. Coco. Everyone's so shy. Well says thank you, James, for always being a ray of sunshine. Go ahead. That don't know who's that Waltz always follows our Powerball every Friday night. Helen tries to make a point of us getting to know each other through having a volunteer usually do two truths and a lie. so we can get to know FC mates, and that turns into a conversation with that person. So if you haven't been to Lose That Waltz, it's very nice and it's very wholesome. So Anthony says thank you to Ash for the weekly G-Pose event. It's been cool to see all the cool shots people come up with. I agree. Mirako says, I just want to say thanks to everyone that made me feel welcome since I joined, but doing the personal stuff just really makes me feel better. Fennel says, thanks to all the Waltz Flares who do stuff behind the scenes that we don't always see. Samson says, thank you, Sorry, Coco, Stray, Feelings, and so many more SC members that have been super helpful in helping me run stuff with MSQ, raids, trials in general. You're all fantastic. And Indigo says, thank you to Relis for handling our behind the scenes flare stuff and technical stuff. Speaking of which, huge shout out to Rexar as well, who has been diligently putting events into Discord, and any of the new Discord changes that came since the massive overhaul, Rexar has kind of been the forefront of that, so great job helping our Discord get even better. Ikar says, thanks to everyone who does their best to help me out for whatever I'm doing, and right now it's crafting and gathering. Lyric says, thank you to Ash, Moon, and Brock for such a strong and immediately welcoming presence when I was first looking to join. Great to talk to you before I could DC transfer, really solidified how great this FC is. Oh, my heart. Keep the train going. Anybody else want to add anything? Okay, Devil Child is raising their hand in chat. Go ahead. Oh, it didn't do it. That's weird. Okay, they're going to type it sent. In the meantime, Moon says, thank you to Department Store for spearheading the newest edition of the Waltz newsletter. Everything is coming together, and excited to share the newest one with everyone soon under his editorial leadership. Fennel, thanks, sorry for the puns. Levin says, you are all really nice. Mad Souls, thank you to Moon. Always seem to be on for a good hello and a talk. Levin says, don't have anyone specific to shout out. Everyone here is always very kind. Sleepless says, just a general thanks for having me here. It's so nice to have an active FC where everyone gets along and does things together. Lanera says, I echo what Lyric said. Y'all being so welcoming out the gate is what made me so jazzed to join. I'm happy to be here. Astron says, agreed, Levin. This is a pretty great place to be. And Department Store says, thank you for having me on the team. I'm working on it right now, actually, while I listen in on this. And Code says, thank you to all the friends I've made. Wow, this is so wholesome. This is filling up my cup for sure. Kagomi's in Town Hall Stage Chat says, thankful to everyone for being just kind and always willing to help others. I see a couple people typing. Ash says, I don't think they're here right now, but thank you to DevRees for helping me with my house. Thank you to Kagomi for hanging out with me all the time, and to Miko and Sella for being great party friends. Brock says, thanks to everyone for being my friend for so many years. Aw, Brock. You're like my bro, man. Coco, thank you to Fratley for such an awe-inspiring Fantasia. Setting a high bar as we all try to be all that we can be. Fratley recently transformed into a Lalafell, so that's got humor in it. Devil says, I met a random person at a store today, became friends with them after talking for 30 minutes. He told me to come to the server in this FC. I do not regret. I'm freaking out that I happened to find this FC. It's what I need after turning to the game from being away for 6 years. Wow, your first day here. That's amazing. And you, Olio, thank you for not kicking me even though I haven't played in like 6 months. And Feeling says, sorry, my house is really loud right now. Thank you for all the fun runs, events, and great times. Also the punny jokes. Lanera says, thanks Kagome and Ash and Stella and Dev and Miko for introducing me to a whole other side of this game. helping me have so much fun every time I log into this game. Astrin says in Town Hall stage chat, Devil, I also joined this FC on my first day. Back from a break, you won't have any regrets. I love how like one person and two persons started this train of recognition. It just kind of kept going. This is great. Kellen says, Koya says, well, I haven't been feeling well. Thank you all for reminding me taking a break. Of course, feel better. And then Fen says, thanks to everyone who keeps FC chat going when it starts dying down. Moon always with the food. Please don't get him on a food tangent. He'll start talking about ranch dressing. See? He typed it in chat as I said that. I see Eris typing, so we'll just see if there's any last recognition here. When we had our Family Feud FC event, Moon's team was called Pizza Ranch, and they won. And I've never heard, he's never lived it down. L'Oreal says, thank you for letting me be in this amazing FC. I love it here. Best group I've ever been on in Final Fantasy 14. Moon, I will server mute you if you talk about ranch, I swear. Can I server mute a flare? I think they have admin rights, so they can't. Oh. Okay, so one Eris, when you're finished, I will come back to your point. If somebody could, I had to switch out of the town hall stage, so somebody could let me know when Eris is finished the type. I will go back to it. So, well, that was great. That was a lot of recognition. Actually, that's the most we've ever had at a town hall, so I think that is huge. We've always had good recognition, but this train just kept on going. So thank you for sharing, everybody. Obviously, it's helping each other and the kindness and compassion that really makes our FC what it is, which leads us to our first real point of the agenda, which is talking about the FC's mission and values. So I always start this section of our town hall with a little bit of history, especially since we have so many new players. I think it's great to know how and when our FC was founded, and how we've become what we are today. So when we talk about the Waltz tenets, which would be compassion, helpfulness, helping new players, and kindness is not in my agenda, but that is definitely one of our pillars. When I first founded Waltz, it was in 2014, and I was about a year into the game because I had just started playing when A Realm Reborn relaunched, and ultimately I was looking for just a small place that I could play this game with my friends and really just have a good time where we could help other players. I had been in some pretty bad FCs before where there was lots of drama, too much adult stuff going on. And so when I founded Waltz, with a couple of my friends, we thought that we would do the exact opposite of what our experiences were in those other two FCs. So looking back since 2014, I realized that we're coming up on the 10th year that Waltz has been around. And that's huge to me. So we started Waltz on Gilgamesh, and we transferred over to Genova in 2017 because at the time Gilgamesh was locked and new players couldn't be created on that server because of overpopulation, and nobody could transfer in. So if you're an FC that prides itself on helping new players, then if there are no new players coming in, how can you really call yourself an FC that helps new players? So we decided as a group, at the time there was only 30 of us in the FC, to move over to Genova, and it was absolutely the best decision we ever made. So that's a little brief history of it. Looking at us now, we have risen to be probably one of the most prominent FCs on the server. We're definitely one of the most well-known. We've been around the longest out of the top FCs that are on this server currently. So that's a little bit of our history for our new players. And so what makes me very proud is when I see FC chat going up with people offering to help. Literally, somebody only ever has to say, can somebody help me with this? And I see lots of people offering to help. There are parts of the day, of course, where chat is a little bit quieter, but then during our peak playtime, I don't think I've seen anybody go without being answered or a cry for help being answered for a very long time. So I'm a very proud FC leader. So talking about our mission and values, we did want to talk about an update that we're making to our charter. And we're going to go into talking about the Waltz escalation process and stuff like that because we do think that town halls are a great way to do a refresher. And so the first thing we want to talk about is an update to our membership charter. So for those that have been around a while, you're pretty familiar with our charter by now. Our charter has evolved over the years and it's changed based on what we feel our FC has evolved through. So it's not a major change, but I do want to talk about it because it is a significant change to somebody who may have been around a very long time. So we have, at our last leadership meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, we made a decision and voted on an amendment to section number 6 of our charter. So previously, section number 6 said, you can be lewd, but you can't be crude. And one of our leaders pointed out that it is a little bit vague, especially when you have some people sharing NSFW stuff in our Discord channels. Even though it may be like not true NSFW, it's very much pushing the envelope. So we decided to make a little bit of an amendment to section 6, and we changed you can be lewd but not be crude into Waltz is a family-friendly free company. And so that's a drastic difference between the 2 points. So obviously being lewd, you can be lewd but you can't be crude has a lot of gray area to it. And the family-friendly free company is basically what we've been from the beginning. It just makes it more kind of black and white when you talk about changing that small little point. So, and then inside the section 6, we amended one sentence at the end of the. So I'll read the paragraph itself hasn't changed, except for the bolded intro point, which is Waltz, the family-friendly free company. In our efforts to maintain a safe environment, our free company has a PG-13 approach to comments and jokes, and the occasional adult joke is totally fine. If the jokes or innuendos are too graphic or are about severe and inappropriate topics, share them in private with those you know personally that will take the joke as intended. Everyone comes from a different personal background, filled with different personal experiences. What you may think is a simple joke may be a trigger or a negative experience for someone else's life. Generally, so this is the amended sentence. Generally, if it goes beyond PG-13, is probably not appropriate for free company chat, and we have now added in any form of media. So previously it was just, it's not appropriate for free company chat, but we decided to add in any form of media because of the occasional NSFW photo being shared in like our public Discord channels and that sort of thing. So it's not very much a large change, but it does really pinpoint what that section was supposed to mean from the beginning. It's just, we just wanted to make it more cut and dry than it actually was. So I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions about that really quick before we jump into the next agenda point. But we wanted to announce that was an amended point of the charter. Okay, Fennel, go ahead. Every form of chat where an FC mate can hear you. Well, the important thing is if somebody's getting uncomfortable with the conversation and it's in a public place, like if you're doing it in the FC yard, for example, I would say that's probably a no-no because someone's might get uncomfortable, but keep it to a tell or a private link show, just so that you don't have the potential to say the wrong thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so going back to recognition, because Eris finished their point, I'd like to say I originally joined because a random Waltz taught me Robbie the stream when I was just getting back into the game. I looked up to them at the time and wanted to join. Now I'm a leader to my brothers who played. It's a highly that you joined because I told you were all so nice, and now we feel like we can ask for help from such great people. Oh, that's sweet. Okay, so the next point I wanted to bring up on the agenda today is just to review our spoiler policy. Now we have 6.4 just around the corner, and there are a lot of new players that have recently joined the FC. So this is more of a reminder. There's no change to the spoiler policy, but this is just to kind of reiterate what we already have as our spoiler policy. So we consider a line between a context spoiler and a no context spoiler. So no context spoilers are perfectly fine because sometimes they're accidental. But context spoilers are what we are talking about when we say keep spoilers out of FC chat. So it's one thing to say sorry when you're out in the middle of the field in FC chat, and everybody's like, "What the heck? Who's the starry? What is he talking about?" And then leaving it at that. That's a no context spoiler. But if you were to say, "Oh my gosh, I met Istari under the tree over here after this quest that I just did, and I have to fight him now," that would be a context spoiler because now you have just given away key story points. So one of the other things that we do ask is that you continue to refer to trials by the name in the duty finder, because the name in the duty finder is always protected. Um, so, for example, if like you were to say X trial 3, uh, no one would know what you're talking about, but those that are there would know what you're talking about. If you were to say the name of who you're fighting in that trial, it would be bad. It would be not be good. So I think it's called Storm's Crown, for example. No one really knows what that means, but if you were to say exactly who you were fighting and what the fight was, then that's a context spoiler, whereas just saying X3 or Storm's Crown is not a spoiler. So yeah, I just wanted to refresh everybody on that spoiler policy. So second point now is we want to review the escalation process for everybody. One thing that makes me a very proud FC leader is that we don't have a lot of escalations happen, and there's not a lot of, I guess, incidents that would typically plague, or things that I've typically heard plague other FCs, large FCs, where people are fighting, etc., etc. So we don't have a lot of that in this FC, which is kind of fantastic, but we do want to review the escalation process in case somebody does make you uncomfortable or maybe crosses a line that you're not too sure of, because at the end of the day, we want to provide a very safe environment for everybody, regardless of what your background is, or your sexual orientation, or your ethnicity, or your religion, anything like that. We want everybody to feel welcomed and everybody to feel comfortable. So that's why we have the escalation process. And so a lot of you guys know this already, but again, we do have a lot of new players, and this might be somebody's first town hall. So I am going to share in I guess I could do it in the town hall chat, can I? I'm going to share the escalation process with everybody so that you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here. So give me 1 second to pull it up, and I will post it in chat. All right, so I just posted it in the town hall stage. So I'm just going to go over it briefly. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because it is pretty straightforward. But this is the escalation chart that all flares use when an issue is brought to our attention. We like to think that our team is very unbiased, but one thing that's super important is that if you are speaking on behalf of a friend and you're bringing up an issue that your friend has reported to you, it is more important that your friend come to leadership with that situation, because when you add in more people into the mix, it ends up creating kind of a bit of a telephone game. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is somebody might come up to Flair and say, "Oh, so-and-so was talking bad about so-and-so, they told me." And then the Flair is always going to be like, we'll look back and say, "Okay, is there evidence to support this?" And the player says, "Well, my friend can give you evidence." And then the Flair says, "Okay, well, I'm going to go to your friend." And then the friend either can't produce evidence or doesn't want to get involved. Then that pretty much is where the escalation would end, because we don't act on hearsay. We're very fair. We're very unbiased when it comes to these things. So this is exactly what we look at when we are dealing with a escalation. So you can approach any Flair. If they're, we like to think that we're not intimidating, but I know that some people can be a little bit intimidating. You might be a little bit closer to a Flair on the team. So by all means, go to who you feel comfortable with, but just know that you can come to any one of us with any concerns. So I'll just go through a couple of important points on this escalation chart. So in the top left corner of the chart, it says issue is brought forward with evidence, or it is observed directly by a Flair. So that's important. The evidence portion is very important, because we don't want to deal in hearsay, just because that's not a good environment for anybody. So the first thing we look at in the complaint, remember at this point we know that there's evidence, is the issue blatantly, purposely racist, discriminatory, or malicious? So this is incredibly important because if anybody was to come in and drop, an N-bomb or a slang for a gay person, and there was malicious intent behind it, we would treat that as an immediate membership termination, because nobody should be discriminatory, should be racist, or should be homophobic against anybody else in the FC. So we would look at that as, if it's a yes or a no. It's a yes, okay, we're going to terminate the membership immediately. If it's not intentional, maybe they didn't know, maybe it was a joke that they caused, or they mentioned. Sometimes we have cultural differences as well, where a word in one person's culture may not necessarily mean the same thing in somebody else's culture, and it could be offensive. And so that's where that first point is super important, because we will assess it. Is it intentional? Is it purposeful? No. Okay, then we're going to say the Flair is then going to own that complaint and investigate it. The next point is the complaint valid? So is it a yes or a no? So in some cases, maybe two people who were in a relationship before break apart, and now they're fighting in their own personal lives, and then one person says something false against the other person, trying to get them in trouble in the FC. And so that's where we would say, is the complaint valid? If we've done our research and our investigation and we find that the complaint is not valid, we're going to speak to the complainee and we're going to tell them that it's not a valid complaint, and then that's going to be the end of it there. If it is yes, we go through a 3-strike process where eventually it will lead to a final warning from a leadership of the FC. And if the behavior continues after the final warning, the Flair team will vote on membership termination. And when a member is terminated, there is a 30-day grace period, depending on if bringing that person back into the FC is going to be is not going to affect the safety of a current FC mate. So if in the situation that I mentioned earlier, where two people were in a relationship, one of them turned out to be a stalker. I'm just giving a completely random scenario. One of the person turns out to be a stalker. We had evidence against it. They were harassing the other person in game. We removed their membership. If we were to bring that person back, obviously it's going to make the first person feel very unsafe and uncomfortable, in which case the membership would not be reinstated. So this is how we all handle our escalations. It is a very fair process. Even when it comes to the end, when a termination is warranted, all of the Flairs vote. So it's not like Istari has the power, he's going to yeet anybody he wants. No, we all vote. And in most cases, it has to be a majority vote, unless people abstain, in which case it has to be unanimous if people are abstaining from voting. So yes, does anybody have any questions about our escalation process? No? Pretty straightforward, yep. So that's pretty much, that's what we had to cover with the escalation process. So next thing in the agenda is keeping FC chat positive. So that's one of the great things about Waltz, is I very rarely see negative aspects of chat. Usually it's somebody just complaining that they got murdered 100 times in a PvP match, or they're struggling with an extreme trial, and that's all fine. We've never seen open fights happen in FC chat. And so this point is just kind of a reminder that FC chat's meant to be a positive space. It's fine to vent. It's fine to have a bad day once in a while, but we want to make sure that we prevent negative Nancy's from being in chat all the time, because nobody wants to log in every day to a game that they're using as an escape from their life, to be inundated with nothing but negativity over and over again. So just a reminder, make sure you keep chat positive. Even when you'll notice a lot of times that when things are getting tense in FC chat, Flairs automatically interject and usually redirect the conversation, because we can see that it's happening and we don't want it to get to a point where people are fighting. So it's not really chat moderation in the sense that we're censoring people, it's more or less redirecting the chat into a positive space. So please remember to treat each other nicely. It is okay to vent, it is okay to complain. Just try not to make sure you're doing it every single day, especially if it's the same thing over and over again. At that point, if you're complaining about the same thing for 30 days, it's probably best that you're not doing what you're doing that's causing you to complain in the first place. Sorry to anybody who heard me rant about my deaths in Omega Ultimate. So Okay, do you know, instead, just remember to treat people how you want to be treated, not just in game, in real life. You'll notice a lot of things will be easier if you do, and you'll always have a better day. Perfect. So just so you know, I posted the escalations chart in the stage chat. I'm also going to post it in voice chat text as well, so those that may have missed it in the town hall chat, I just posted it again. So, Lyco, so I just want you to know this wasn't directed at anybody in particular. Don't worry. Don't think it's anybody's being centered out. It's just a general reminder. Don't worry about it. All right. So one thing I just wanted to briefly touch on when we come to FC's mission and values is what kind of FC we actually are, what kind of purpose we have. So I like to think that we're a really nice blend of casual versus raiding versus RP. We do have some people in the FC who do like to RP, but it does not define our FC. I would say out of those three areas, our FC is definitely majority casual, and that's where I think we're going to stay for the long term. We do have people that like to raid in the FC. We do have people that like to do really tough content, but if you notice, it's really not openly talked about in chat. People have their own raid groups, and that's awesome. But if you did ever want to have questions about raid, there are a lot of people here who love to raid and who will definitely help you out with any questions you have. Just don't ask me about top because I have PTSD. I'm just kidding. But yes, there's a lot of raiders who have gone through the content, a lot of people who are definitely willing to help you out. Even if you have a simple question about your job, someone's going to pipe up to help you. And that's just one thing that's where I would like to say that our purpose as an SC is. Does anybody disagree with that? I'm not carrying anybody through top. Alright, so just one thing that I want to mention too is that if you are interested in raiding, you are interested in getting together, forming your own group or joining a group, under the pins in our raid channel is an FC spreadsheet where you can add your name to as a raider. There's a lot of people in there who are looking for groups. There's a lot of people in there who are interested in doing the new Savage tier that's coming out in a week. So definitely, if you are interested, please review that spreadsheet and see if there's a group that you can fit into, or maybe there's a group that you want to start building with people that are in there. Definitely do that. And speaking of rating, I did write a very thorough rating guide. So if you're a brand new player to Final Fantasy and you want to get your toes wet with rating, definitely give that a read. It's in the classroom notes, but definitely take a look at that spreadsheet if you are rating. So the next thing about our FC mission and values is this has been a kind of a hot topic with the leadership team over the last couple of months, is the crafting materials in our free company chest. So everyone who's been in the FC for a very long time knows that everything in our FC chat is a free-for-all, with the exception of a couple of locked compartments that serve a very specific purpose. So what we're talking about with crafting materials is mostly the crystals, the shards, and the clusters that are currently in the FC chest. We just want to remind everybody that they're there for everybody to use. If you need a stack of them to do crafting, and you don't want to buy any from the market board, that's perfectly fine. Previous to about a month and a half ago, anybody could access the crystals at any time, but we did have a couple of incidences where people went in and took 3, 4, 5,000 crystals at a time. And though the FC chest does not fill itself up, so it works two ways. If you do want materials from the chest, please go ahead and ask. No one's going to question it. You're more than welcome to any of the resources in the chest. If any of you have extra shards or crystals you want to spare, definitely donate them to the chest as well. It is a give and take, chest where, you might be a new player to the game and you're taking a lot from the chest now, but there'll come a time where you're a veteran and you're giving back and you're going to be putting stuff back into the chest. So feel free to use what's in there. If something's in a locked compartment and you want it, just reach out to any leader, flare or amplifier, and they will definitely get that for you. With the exception of what is currently in tab 3, which I will talk about when we talk about the Waltz auction and later on in the town hall. So the next thing is, how is our FC doing overall? So one thing that the leadership team does at our meetings is we do a round table and we kind of grade the FC from 1 to 10. and we take the average, and that's how what we consider the health of our FC. And I'm very happy to say that we, overall, all of leadership feels that the FC is sitting at 8 of 10, which is fantastic. We're in a very good place. Even in the middle of a content lull where things get very quiet, we still feel like the FC is strong. People are very happy, and we do that grading system because if there's one person on the team that might think that we're a 4 or 5, we want to know those feelings so that we can come up with a plan as a group to redirect the FC into a more positive space. So I agree, Stray, 10 out of 10 would be awesome, but I don't think our FC will ever be at a 10 because there's always potential to improve. Right now we have a content lull. There's a couple of times where FC chat might be going very quickly and a sprout is asking for help and somebody misses the call for help. If we were a 10 out of 10, in my opinion, none of those calls for help would ever be missed. And we would always have somebody jumping on top of those things, and we would always have chat rolling 24 hours a day. So we know that isn't the case. Nobody plays for 24 hours. Maybe we shouldn't say that. But chat, there are times where our chat is very slow during content lull. So we kind of feel that our FC is doing probably 8 out of 10. I'd be interested to see how you guys are feeling. If you want to put in Sage chat where you think 1 to 10 that we sit at currently as an FC. You can say it in Sage chat or in the Town Hall chat. 9.99, okay. 9, perfect. 42. Fence is a 7. 8.5. Okay, 8. Yeah, so even looking at the chat, it looks like the average is still about an 8. So, yes, and Coco, I do mean natural chat, not forced chat. So, yeah, so it looks like the FC is all on the same page too. I don't see any extremely low. I don't see any extremely high. If maybe you're not comfortable sharing and you do feel that we're not sitting at an 8 or in that ballpark, please reach out to me privately. I would like to hear your feedback on how we can make it better for you. I really care a lot about what all the members say, even though I might seem like I'm this lonely FC leader that doesn't care, but I definitely care, and I really want to know how you're all feeling. So if you do feel that we're not at around an 8, please tell me why privately if you want, and so I can get your feedback. It's really important to me. So, okay, perfect. So jumping into the next part of the agenda is recruitment. So I kind of said in my recognition earlier that I'm so happy that we've had such an influx of new members join our FC, and it's a huge thank you to Moon and Diana, who have constantly been recruiting and trying to boost up the new membership to the FC. At our December leadership meeting, one of the goals we set as a team was to increase our recruitment because we had gotten into a very stale point as far as having new players in the FC is extremely healthy for a free company because there's a lot of new questions that are being asked, there's a lot more help that's being offered, and it just makes chat more lively, and you can really see the passion that somebody has because they're just seeing the game for the first time, or maybe they're only a little bit into the game, but it's really nice to see that positivity, and it just breathes new life into the FC. That's not to say that our veteran members don't breathe life into it. It's just that it brings a new type of life in, because if everybody in the FC has done all of the content and there's nothing else to do, then what happens? You just talk about food, I guess. Maybe that's why we had such a 3 or 4 months where it was all talk about food in the FC chat. But anyway, so we made a goal also to boost our active recruitment and awareness during events as well. So those who join Fate Friday, you're probably familiar with how most of the time James will always shout in shout chat versus using the link show, because we want everybody in that zone to see the energy level of Waltz. And a lot of people actually have joined Waltz from Fate Friday or other events, like when we do our naked foot races or our death drop dartboard games, we're always very active in our shout chats, and that's how we draw awareness to RFC through our events. So I saw Fennel ask if there's something that they can help with recruitment, and recruitment is something that everybody in the FC can help with. So if you're in a new city state and you see a sprout with no FC tag, might be worthwhile to engage in conversation and talk to them. Or maybe you see somebody asking for an FC that obviously you can bring up Waltz if you really think that it would be a great fit for them. I see a lot of people recruit to their friends. So a lot of our wave of new members a couple months ago was friend referrals, which is also great too. So new members are to be referred to the website as normal, because the application on the website does require that they read the charter, but that applicant can put the name of the free company member that referred them in the actual "How did you hear about us" section of the application. So it's definitely something everybody can participate in. Please do if you want, because we would love to see even more new players come into the FC as well. It warms my heart when I see so much wholesomeness happening in the FC chat. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for any questions on anything I covered so far before we jump into community engagement. Doesn't look like any questions are being asked. Okay, awesome. Perfect. So the next point then to talk about is the community engagement and events. I just want to revisit our current programs that we have in the FC and some of the things that we do have that maybe you don't know that we have as part of the FC. So the first thing I want to talk about is the member grant that we have. So we do have a GIL fund set aside for somebody who might need a little boost in GIL for we like to say an emergency situation, but it's more or less like, I need this for something unique. So there are some regulations around that grant. So for example, you can't use it if you just want it so you can buy a minion or a mount, for example. It's mostly for things that don't come available very often. So let's say you're 1 million gil short for a house and you're the only bid that's going to be on that house. You can ask for, you can go to a flare for a grant. Now it's a grant, not a loan. So we have some guidelines in place so that no one takes advantage of it. For example, you have to be in the FC for at least 60 days, and there's other things around that as well, but definitely it is something that's available. We also have our new member room grant as well that is independent of the member grant. So if you want to buy an FC room in the FC house and decorate it, but you don't have more than 1 million gil, you can actually reach out to a flare and they will give you the gil for your free company estate room. We love seeing new rooms because we love to see what you decorate with them, unless you go into Moon's room, in which case you'll laugh. New room hype. Yep, see, we just had a new room added to the FC list and everyone's going new room hype, so I love that. Other thing too is we do have role specific jobs. So if you are interested in learning a new job and you just don't know how the mechanics of the job work, so maybe you unlocked it and you're like, oh my god, I don't know how this works, I'm never going to be good at this job. We do have a rotating schedule for classes that veteran members teach players. So I recently did a Black Mage one and a Scholar one. We have some people who teach Paladin. We have people who teach there's pretty much a teacher for almost all of the jobs. Right now the classes are on break until June because I just haven't had the time to teach this month. So that leads me to my next point. We definitely are in need of teachers who may be interested in teaching a job they're passionate about to the FC. So this is like if maybe you're really good at Ninja, which is not a commonly played job or a commonly taught job in our FC, and you want to teach Ninja, please let me know. We'll add you to the roster. Basically, if you're interested in being a teacher, it's not an everyday thing. It's a once every 8 to 12 weeks thing. Because there's so many jobs in this game, when we cycle through each job once, usually 2 to 3 months have passed. if you are looking to teach, you don't have to do it every day. Typically, it's every Saturday around 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll run two classes back to back, and then they rotate every 10 to 12 weeks. So if you are interested, please definitely put your name into the hat. We also have our Waltz merch shop. So we've had the merch shop going for a couple of years now. You can buy any Waltz branded merchandise. It can be beanies, backpacks, fanny packs, coasters, hoodies, anything you want. And the profits of that have always gone back into the FC in the form of prizes and other miscellaneous things in there. Kellen, were you going to say something? Yes. Thank you very much. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. James, you want to talk about the FC Voyages? Because I'll just preface it by saying one of the other things we have in the FC is our voyages. So we have submarines and airships. They're basically retainer ventures, but for the entire FC. So James is going to talk a little bit about that next. So go ahead, James. Nice. Thanks, James. Perfect. So that's a couple of little things that we have. And then, of course, we have our weekly events and we have our monthly events and all that stuff. So for those that are new, every Monday night we have a regular lottery and a Powerball lottery. Both of them run on Mondays at 11 p.m. Eastern, or sorry, 11 p.m. Eastern. Then on Fridays they run at midnight Eastern, and then on Friday we just have a Powerball. There is no regular lottery, and then on Friday we also have Who's That Waltz with Kellen. And so we have all the other events that come up now and then. They're all posted on our website all the time. Muffinella makes a calendar every month as well that outlines them. So if you ever want a quick reference point of any events that are coming up this month, please take a look at the website. Which leads me to my next point, which is gauging interest in old events. So over time, we've had to, there's been dwindling interest in some events as people have done the content before. It's nothing fresh and new to them. But we are looking at seeing if there's maybe there's an event that you did a long time ago at the SD that you want to see again. And then leadership can take that and make it return. As an example, we used to have an event called Sink It Sunday, which was one of my favorite events because we would go back as an FC and do old content at minimum item level so that people would be able to experience the fight mechanics for the first time. And then, as an example, going back to doing Weeping City of Mahachi on minimum item level and watching everybody die to all of the mechanics makes me have great pleasure. So if there's any event that maybe you saw once before and you want to see it come back, please let me know. Mahak. Can Rena say something? Kellen? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, and no event is too big or too small. It all starts with an idea too. Like I'll use Kellen as an example. One day he thought, oh, I think it'd be fun to ride motorcycles through a zone, and then Waltz Riders was born, and it's a really popular event. And then we had other events that started as a small idea that have kind of grown into big things. Like Fate Friday was a small event when it first started. It's also grown into a large Friday night event. So if there is something you're interested in hosting, please don't be shy. Um, I like to say that I'm creative, but my brain can only think of so many ideas. So if you have, there is always a budget set aside for large events as well from our FC coffers. So if you are saying, oh, I want to throw an event, but I don't have the gil for a prize, we can definitely help you out with that as part of our budget. Kellen, do you want to mute yourself? Okay, exactly. Exactly, too. And that's happened before where, someone's come to us with an event idea, and we've helped them run the event, and it turned into something extremely fun. I think we had a scavenger hunt created by Tronox a while ago, and it was incredibly fun. And they didn't actually run the event. We did, the Flair team did, but it was super, super fun. So if there is stuff that you are excited about or interested in doing, please let us know. Maybe you don't want to run it yourself, like Kellen said, but you're interested in seeing the event come to fruition. We can help you brainstorm that idea and turn it into something that is a full thought. If you think it's only a partial idea, we can help you turn it into a full thought. So, yes, that's great. Achievement hunters. I mean, I always want achievements. Yep, there's fishing with Brock has always been a really good event. Um, Fishing with anybody really. All right. So talking about events, there is one sour topic that we do want to bring up to everybody, and that is cheating. So it's great to play a game with each other, and it's great to do events together, but it's getting very hard for the team to direct certain events now because of the risk of cheating. And we've actually had to can some events in the past because people have been caught cheating. And it's very sad to us that people think that they need to cheat. As an example, we recently did hide and seek, and it came to our attention that one of the players was using a plugin that allows you to see your friends or FC mates on your minimap. So how is that a fair event if you are using a plugin that shows you where people are hiding. So we have we have almost certainty that there was cheating that was had at the last hide and seek event, and therefore we are trying to think of a creative solution to that event because we know how popular that event is. So we're trying to think of a creative solution so we can still do the event, but kind of curb the cheating. So when hide and seek comes back, it will be relaunched into something a little bit more tangible, where, or at least we hope somebody can't cheat. We've had to cancel trivia nights before because of cheating, and that event's no longer something we do. We didn't want to get rid of hide and seek because somebody said even if one person was cheating, everybody else still has a great time, and there's merit in that thought too. But yeah, so when we do have FC events, we are looking that everybody is working on the honor system. Of course, there are going to be people who do cheat. It's unavoidable, but we're asking that when you do participate in any scheduled FC event that is somebody has taken time to craft and put together, that you do not cheat, and you try to just put your whole moral compass straight ahead when you're coming to take care of these events. So don't use the workarounds. One of the things is we ask everybody to turn off nameplates for hide and seek. So that's the honor system, and then to have news that there are plugins being added that show people on the minimap. So that was also very disheartening because it takes time to put these events together. But yes, please make sure that you are avoiding cheating and at least trying your best when you're taking care of these events as well. So it's just made it very challenging for us to come up with event ideas without having to think now somebody might be cheating in the background to get the win. So that's basically all I wanted to say about engagement and events. I do want to have a minute here to have an open forum to see if anybody has any ideas that popped up that they've been thinking about that they might want to see become an event. If you don't feel comfortable sharing now, please, or you want to think it through a little bit more, we are able to, you can DM any of us at any time. So anybody have any event ideas? Oh. Larry Masser about more weekday events, just a few things to mull over. Base roll runs, so no job stones with a full FC group. Yep. Pre-Endwalker map nights, deep dungeon runs, focus on mainly those who are Shadowbringers. I love that idea. I love those ideas. One thing that we really struggle with when it comes to events is hosts. We maybe when you bring the idea to us, you don't want to host it. Flares will try our best to host it, but that doesn't mean it's limited to just Flares either as well. So we've always had a lot of great ideas, but we've had less. It's like the raiding culture in our FC. We have a lot of raiders, but we don't have a lot of people who want to lead a raid group. So it's the same thing with events. These are all fantastic ideas, and I would really like if somebody was able to step forward and say, I want to own this event, and I will run with it, because they sound like fantastic. I would love to be part of a deep dungeon run group or a no job stone run group as well. Dress up duel, Kaishan said. Bozja and Eureka being the whole forget the term, but yeah, those are interesting things. Yep, those are great places. Honestly, with Eureka and Bozja, they need to introduce party sync, where everybody in the same party can be synchronized down to the same level while they're in there. I think that would make it so much more fun, because I could go back into the lower Eureka zones and help somebody. Deep Dungeon Scramble parties, love that too. Olio, I love that, a poetry theme contest, poetry contest. We used to have we have an event that we haven't done that maybe I should bring it back, which is Waltz has Got Talent. And that could be like, you could speak poetry, you could sing if you wanted to, you could do spoken word, do a skit. I think it's time to bring that one back. Just tell us a scary story in your deep voice, Kellen. That's all I want. Oh, you don't have to know a lot about leading, Eris. You just gotta be able to pull people together and say, let's go die. Oh, I missed it. There it is. Yep, go ahead. Oh, I see the chat. Yeah, the chat went up pretty quick. Now I see it. Okay. I can, no, I can explain it. So, mount runs are awesome, and we've done them many times in the past. What ends up happening is you'll schedule one mount run, for example. Okay, today we're going to do Ramu Extreme. And it gets to a point where it's a couple of different things. So the first one is some people will show up that don't know the fight, thinking it's going to be a learning party instead of a mount farm. And so you end up spending time trying to clear the fight when it's supposed to be a mount farm. So what ends up happening is somebody will lead a mount run for a couple of months. Like it'll happen, let's say, Wednesday night mount runs for a couple of months. Then after a couple of months, that person who's running the event starts to feel a little bit burned out because they have to do the same teaching, the same process all the time. So if there was a way that somebody could host that event very strictly, it would be a very successful event. But there's definitely interest there. So if anybody is interested in running with mounts, it doesn't have to be weekly, it could be monthly. But it's definitely something that we can definitely do. Yeah, you can, Eris. You can do them on sync. It's just, especially if you're doing the newer extreme trials, for example, you can't do them sync. I like that idea too, a learning party for the mounts before the mount run if it's a recent trial. Yep, that works. At least that's perfectly phrased. Somebody can run the event for a while, and then when they start to feel tired with it, reach out to a flare and say, I'm getting a little tired, and we start looking for a replacement. Look what happened with map nights, for example. A lot of the map hosts want a little bit of a break before 6.4, and so we stopped map nights for a couple of weeks. It doesn't mean they're going away permanently, it's just because people were feeling a little bit burned out, and that is perfectly fine. It's not something that we want to do every single week forever. Nobody has to do that, but it's definitely, if you do want to host an event and you want it to be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, doesn't really matter, and then after a few months decide, you know what, I'm kind of tired, I don't want to do it anymore, we will happily help you find somebody to take over the event for you, or do a break from that event altogether. Okay. I've seen lots of awesome ideas. I know that my lovely note takers have recorded them all for me, so that's great. So then we'll talk about the 6-month recap in the next 6 months. So it's not a very lengthy topic. One thing that we talked about at the leadership meeting is that how one of the things that makes our FC really awesome is how we're very good at being bored together. And you would think that in an environment where everybody gets bored, there would be like fighting and drama, but it's literally like we do a great job of being bored together. And it's a great way to describe how our FC is during a lull. We're helping each other, we're chatting about random stuff, we're talking about what's coming out, what's not coming out, but we're still a core focused FC. So for the last 6 months, just to kind of talk about some of our huge wins, we had a extremely successful Christmas giveaway. So every year in the holiday season, we have a big Waltz holiday giveaway, and it was incredibly successful. So we get donations from all of the FC for the month leading up to the giveaway, and then we have Santa Brock and Santa Yami sit in Limsa with Moon and his elf brigade, and we give away free stuff to the entire server. And we have elves that go from server to server and data center to data center, and they shout and get interest. The lineup for our giveaway was from the aft castle all the way to the warrior guild at the very north side of the upper decks, and it lasted for several hours. So huge success. And how I measure success with that event is the feedback that we get not only from the rest of the server, also from the FC, but something somebody told me that I was in a party with, a non-FC mate I was in a party with. Another FC was doing a smaller giveaway a couple of weeks after ours, and somebody asked the host of that giveaway, oh, this event must be sponsored by Waltz. Because Waltz is known for these holiday giveaways every single year. So the fact that another FC was trying to do that, everybody's attributing that event to our FC, which is kind of awesome that, something so wholesome can be attributed to RFC solely on the server. It was great because even last year we had RFC on the actual FF14 Reddit as the giveaway. There was screenshots and it was upvoted a lot, so we were all over Reddit that year. So hugely successful event there. We had a successful Halloween party last year as well. We talked about it a little bit at the last town hall, but I think over the last 6 months, one of our biggest accomplishments, though, is the fact that we have been able to stake a consistently strong FC. We have never dropped out of the top 3 on Genova since, I think, September of 2018. I think maybe we hit 5th place once, but that was for an extreme content lull. But right now we are number 3. We've been number 3 for a couple of weeks, or maybe a couple of months now. And as we see an influx of new players coming into our FC, that number is going to skyrocket again. So just so you guys know, and I do say this at every town hall, so I apologize if you've heard it before, FC ranks on the lodestone are based on overall FC activity. And the more active an FC is, the more points they get per week, and the more points they get per week impacts the rank that they are against the other FCs on the server. And I'll talk about where we're sitting on the data center during our census, but if you're curious to how the mathematics work behind FC points, basically whenever you complete a dungeon or you craft an item or you get an achievement, our FC gets points. And different things that you do have a different weight on how many points they generate. So for example, if you craft a high quality item, the point value is almost triple if you were to craft that same item at no quality. If you do a dungeon with an by yourself, let's say that point value is 8 for that dungeon. If you do it with an FC mate, you've doubled that point value, and it adds up from there, so on and so forth. So what I do passively now is whenever I'm in a dungeon, I roll greed on all of the items in that dungeon, as long as somebody doesn't tell me they want it. And then any gear that I get, I just turn it in for seals because it has the largest return on investment for FC points. So some days I'll go a week and just hoard a whole bunch of gear, and at the end of the week I'll just dump all of my extra gear at the Grand Company turn-ins, which boosts our overall FC rank. A lot of our crafters who craft daily, you are unconsciously boosting our FC rank. That's why I love FC only parties, like whole FC parties, because the point value is a multiplicatory formula that only increases with how many people in the FC are doing that content. So like I said, if it was 8 points for a dungeon, 2 FC points would be 16. But it's not 8 plus 8, it's 8 times 2 times 2 times 2. So it just doubles with each FC mate that's in there. At least that's my theory. It's based on what I have calculated in the early stages of the FC. It might have changed over time, but that's generally how it is. The more content you do with FC mates, the stronger our FC is, and the more active it is basically as far as FC points are concerned. So thank you for all of those who do things together, and even if you don't do things together, you're still contributing. So great job, everybody. And then for the next 6 months, the major focus right now is going to be 6.4, which is literally in a couple of days. Well, it's a week. So 6.4 is going to bring an influx of our members back to the game, and FC Chat is going to get busy again, which means that we do have to remember the spoiler policy that I mentioned earlier in the town hall. We do have to talk about making sure that even if FC Chat is going really quickly, that we aren't missing anybody's cries for help if they need assistance with something. I've seen it happen too, where FC Chat has been going so fast. I was like, can I get help with this? And then I always, even if I'm in a dungeon, I'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. Is anybody able to help with this member with this? If you see that in chat and you're busy, it doesn't hurt to repeat it, because chances are if somebody is not replying to your call for help, it's probably they just didn't see it. Especially if you're crafting, if you're crafting, your crafting steps push the chat up really quickly. So sometimes you just don't see it. If you do see somebody asking for help with something, even if you can't help, try to echo that call for help, and somebody is going to step up. It's just the nature of our FC. So keep that in mind when we are going into 6.4. Keep mindful of the spoilers. And if you do have, with the new content coming out, try to refer to the dungeons by the name, and the bosses by boss 1, 2, or 3. And then, of course, the new trial. I mean, for those that are avoiding the preliminary patch notes and all the trailers, those think of them when you are saying that the name of that in chat, because some people don't know what it is, even though those of us that have been watching the trailer do know what it is too. So yep, and like Des said, behind our FC stage, if you are a low-level crafter, we have every crafting station in the FC house, so using the crafting station does boost your stats in the low-level crafter to help you get through some of your crafts a bit easier. So perfect. So we're getting close to the end of the town hall. We have a couple more parts of the agenda. So the first thing is, the next point is to talk about upcoming events. So we have a big event coming on June 3rd. Does anybody know what it is? And leaders, you can't say anything. Let's see who is paying attention. Yep, Fennel got it. We have our big FC auction happening on June 3rd. FC auction is a way for you to contribute to the FC by means of gil or items. So we ask for anybody who would like to donate an item to the auction. We are accepting donations of anything that has a value of 100,000 gil or higher, so minions, mounts, anything that you want to contribute. We will be auctioning them off for gil at the auction, and then all of the profits from the auction go into the FC coffer to fund the rest of the events for the next year. So if you do have something you want to donate, we aren't turning away any donations. Just don't donate stuff that is incredibly common. For example, a Morble minion. Yep, there you go. Like Den said, no Morble seedlings. If it's an extremely common item, please don't donate it. But if it's something that is semi-rare, maybe it is a minion from a higher level of the dungeon that is going for 50,000 to 80,000 on the market board, we would accept those. Otherwise, please know that we are accepting donations. It is very fun. The auctions are hilarious. It's hilarious watching how much somebody will pay for a seed. Not a seedling, but something so small and minuscule. But yes, look forward to it. It's June 3rd. I am looking for volunteers who want to. If you want to donate an item, FC Chest Compartment 3 is donation only. So you can put anything you want to donate into FC Chest Compartment 3. We will put it into FC Chat. So it's one of our member retainers will hold on to it to the auction. So. Oh yes, and one thing I want to add up is that just like any other donations that we offer, we accept, we are giving mana points out for donations. Just know that it is one donation per person, not one donation per item, or one mana point per item. It's one mana point per person, and not one mana point per item. So whether you donate 1 or 10 items, it's one mana point. So, oh yes, and I guess I should have mentioned this when we were talking about our FC events. But for those that are new to the FC, you're probably wondering what the heck a mana point is. But every month,
as part of our like monthly ceremonies when we announce our Good Samaritan, we also have our Mana Point raffle. So when you participate in a scheduled FC event, so basically everybody here at the town hall tonight, you are all getting a Mana Point. And if you come to Fate Friday, you get a Mana Point. If you come to one of the classes that are taught every Saturday, you get a Mana Point. So any scheduled event, you get a Mana Point, which is basically a raffle ticket towards a raffle at the end of the month. So the more events you participate in, the more tickets you get, the more chances you have to win. And the items are awesome. They range from rare mounts all the way up to hand-drawn portraits by our artists in the FC. So please participate. But yes, you will get a mana point for if you donate 1 or 10 items. So other event that we have coming up is our spring party. So those that have been to a Waltz party and love them, we have another one coming up. In June, it is the 3rd week in June. Date to be announced. Nori, did you want to announce the dates? Are you in here? Volunteers too. Perfect. Yes, and like we're always looking for volunteers for the parties too. So if you want to be a host or you want to do maybe you want to be an usher for something, once all the mini games and events are announced, if you want to say, "Oh, I'd like to help with that," then yes, we would love volunteers as well too. Yeah, and we'll announce more details as they're coming up. But yes, please know that the spring party is coming up. All right, and the last thing that happens every June is it's Pride Month. So if you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community, we do definitely encourage you celebrating your Pride. We have merch on the website that is Pride related. Our website is rebranded with Pride as well. So just know that we do value Pride Month in the FC as well too. So, all right, so jumping into our census is the next point. So Diana and Moon have been working on our census. So thank you in advance to everybody who participated in the census. We really appreciate it. It's given us some really interesting information to look at from an FC perspective. So hopefully, I'm going to share my screen. I'm hopefully going to be able to go through this. Give me 1 second here. Just to kind of talk about some of the interesting results that we have. Okay, let me know if everybody can see. Oops. Can everybody see my screen? Oh, yeah, I see lots of eyes on me, so I assume it's a yes. Okay, so we did our census, and we every couple of years we'll do a census to kind of see just some interesting data in the SC, see what kind of job people like to play the most. I hope I unzipped the spoiler-free. Diana gave me 2 copies of this slideshow. One of them is spoiler, one is spoiler-free. Oh, okay, good. It's a spoiler-free one. Okay, so we compiled all of the data from our census, and we put it together kind of like a little bit of a PowerPoint here. That I sillily used through Microsoft Photo, whatever. Anyways, so first thing is overall FC stats. So when this census was closed, we had 466 members. Our rank on Aether is 15. So that is out of every server on Aether, we are FC number 15. That's a huge win when you consider how many FCs and how many servers there are on Aether. As of May, we are number 3 on Genova. I kind of talked about that. In total, we had 103 submissions, which means that almost a quarter of the FC contributed to the census, which is awesome. 9.7% of the FC are Sprouts. And I'm sure that's a lot more now that we've had a recent wave of recruitment, so that's amazing. I would like to see that at like 15 to 20%. So if anybody does feel passionate about recruitment, I would love to have you help us get to 15-20%. Next one is our member stats. So 65% of our FC are the meteor rank, 20% are demis, 11% are flares, and 2% are amplifiers. So what is a demi? So a demi is somebody who's been offline for more than 2 weeks to 2 weeks or beyond. A meteor is somebody who's been online within the last 2 weeks. And then flares and amplifiers, of course, are our FC leaders. So this is very telling about how healthy our FC is. If you add up amplifiers, flares, and meteors, based on our census results, we are sitting at about 80% active. Our membership is 80% active overall. I'm sure it's probably similar if I was to just do the raw numbers in FC, the FC menu. This is just based on who submitted these submissions. So most who have responded to the census have been in the FC for more than 1 year at 24.5%. We have 19.6% has been in the FC less than 6 months. There is 11.8% that have been in here between 6 months and a year, 25% more than a year, 23% 2 years plus, and 20% 3 years plus. That's huge. 20% of our FC have been in the FC for more than 3 years. I love that statistic. Member stats, at 39.6%, most FC members are between the ages of 30 and 40. The next biggest group is 25 to 30. So I don't know if that shocked anybody, but I thought that was a very surprising stat. But makes sense because I am in my 30s, so. Who said the Final Fantasy is not cool for adults anymore? At 41%, most of the FC is aligned with the Maelstrom. At 24%, the Immortal Flames is the FC's least joined company. Sorry to anybody who's playing. Starting city, it was Gradania. So Gradania was the most popular starting city for the FC. It's all those Dragoons, lol. Housing, at 63.1%, most of our FC members own a house in-game. Based on the 100 people that did the census, 63% own a house. That's awesome. I can tell where this picture was taken. Being a casual FC, most of the FC does not participate in Savage Rating. Only 14.6% of the FC has beaten an Ultimate. That's actually a huge number for the FC. But, I mean, out of 100 people who did the survey, I think a lot of them were people who have cleared an Ultimate. But that's still a huge number. Considering out of all the player base, it's probably less than 2%. Races. So cat boys are the most popular, or I guess cats in general, are the most popular race in the FC. Makotes are 29.1%. Auras are second at 18.4%, and then Lalafels are third at 17.5%. Lalafels are always number one in my mind, so. Did she seriously put the Lalafell in a burlap sack? Diana, I'm going to come after you. The least common race, but very common in our hearts, Rogadins are 3.9% of the FC. Look, it's Brock, and Hrothgar are 1%. At 66%, most FC members play a female character. I kind of could have saw that one coming. Chocobo colors, yellow is the most common color for FC Chocobo. Can't go wrong with the classics. But the other popular colors are blue and white. My Chocobo is black. Took me a long time to get it there. Lots of dyeing. 61.8% of the FC is not eternally bonded in game. So, hey, you single? You have a lot of people in the FC who are single. Patron deities at 20.4%. Most of the FC's patron deity is Minfina, goddess of love and the moon. Rhalgr is second at 12.6%. And there's a three-way tie between Zima at 11.7%, and Halone at 11.7% as well. Favorite beast tribe. So the Omicrons are the number one favorite beast tribe of the FC, with Loporritz being second and then Namazu being third. Favorite tanks in the FC. So Paladin is number one at 28.4%. Warrior is second, Dark Knight is third, and Gunbreaker is fourth at 17.6%. I'm actually surprised Paladin is so high. Maybe with the changes, they're all flat. It's a lot flashier now. Favorite healer, White Mage is number one at 31%, with Sage being an ASC tied for second at 27%. Oh, my boy, the Scholar is only at 15%. That makes me very sad. Fairy Supremacy. Favorite melee DPS, Reapers are a staggering 37.5% favorite. Dragoon being second at 25%, Sam at third, Ninja fourth, Monk fifth at 9.5%. If Black Mage is not number one for Magic, I'm going to be so triggered. Range DPS, number one is Dancer at 45%, Machinist at 35%, and Bard at 20%. Oh, why is Black Mage last? That's so sad. Red Mage is number one, 38.6%. Summoner is second at 30.7%. Black Mage at 27%. Blue Mage made it on there with 3% though. Favorite battle class was tied between four jobs actually: White Mage, Red Mage, Dancer, and Warrior. And then Summoner was tied for second with Machinist at 7.8% as the favorite battle class in general. Number 3 was Reaper, Dragoon, and Paladin tied at 6.8%. AST was 4, and then Black Mage is 5 at 4.9. Oh my god, it's me! Diana just said she wants to take a picture of me, and this is where it ended up, I guess. Love it. So favorite dungeon would be the Twinning, Amarat, and the Dead Ends. So Amarat being number 1. Favorite trial being Seed of Sacrifice, number 1, with the Final Days of Dancing Plague being 2 and 3. Favorite 8-man raid, number 1 being Eden, second is Pandemonium, and 3 is Omega. Eden was actually my favorite as well, so that's not a shocker to me. Favorite alliance raid, Nier at number 1, Myths of the Realm at number 2, and then Ivalice is number 3. Favorite Scion, number 1 was Ishtola. Everybody likes Ishtola. Grahatia is second, and then Alice being third. Hey, Alphino didn't make it up to the top. It's funny. And then favorite antagonists would be Xenos, MSL, and Yotsuyu at number 1, 2, and 3. Favorite NPC overall, Hildebrand is number 1, and Horshafont is number 2. And then favorite NPC overall would be a three-way, number 3 is tied with Graha, Godbert, Ishtola. So that is pretty much all of the census results that we took. So thank you for everybody that did participate. And thank you to Diana for putting together the cute little slideshow. Chances are she drew this character here. So perfect. So yeah, that's great. I can give it to you, Ikar, if you want. So you just gotta let me know and I'll send it to you via DM. So okay, so that brings us to pretty much the end of the town hall. We have had some people ask about, wanting to be an FC leader and what it takes. So we kind of just close off the town hall with, first of all, congratulating our 3 most recent amplifier promotions, Stray, Felix, and Ash. But yes, to be a Waltz leader, it takes compassionate understanding, innovation and creativity, ability to be unbiased and neutral in situations, and then the ability to bring people together. So when we talk about hosting events, that's a great way to bring people together. The ability to be unbiased and neutral in situations is really important as well, especially from a Flare perspective. We have to be completely unbiased and neutral. And if you feel that you are going to be biased with a situation, maybe it's your friend that is, there's an incident involving one of your friends, it's in your best interest to pass that off to another Flare. So being unbiased is super important. So the first thing we look at, though, when it comes to being a leader is somebody who brings the community together. So that's my most important piece. I think that's more important than everything else combined, is the ability to bring people together. That could be with just conversation, puns, the stray incident. There could be you want to do an event every week. There's lots of different things that could bring the FC together. That's the first thing that we look at. So if anybody is interested in being a leader, wants to be an amplifier or a flare eventually, please speak up. You can send a DM and then we can help you and give advice on how to get you there. Basically, just to show you the difference between an amplifier and a flare and what the different sides deal with, I have a little bit of a flow chart here that I'm just going to share to close off this town hall. So town hall stage, here we go. So I put it in the town hall stage, but I'm also going to put it in voice chat text. So this kind of shows you the responsibilities of what each leader type does. So flares obviously are the ones that are responsible for most of the things, and then amplifiers assist with some of those things. So even though it says amplifiers, there's a whole bunch of lines coming off of amps. Flares also do all of those things. It's that amps help with them. So we have the Waltz members living Waltz values. Then we have the amplifiers who assist with all the things that you see in this chart. And then we have the flare team, which deals with the stuff at the top, in addition to what the flares look like. So if any of these things stand out to you, you're like, you know what? I would be awesome championing a mentorship program in the FC. Or I'd be awesome at doing event PR, going around and advertising our events. I would love to do that. Like, this might be stuff that you could definitely help with. So please feel free to reach out if you are interested in being a Waltz leader, whether it's any one of these levels. We're definitely looking for new leaders all the time. And we're definitely hoping to see a lot of names coming in for 6.4 to help. So that's all I got for y'all. I'm going to close it out by asking if there's any questions or any points anybody wants to add. Any other leaders maybe you want to speak up, maybe I missed something, please let me know. So it's open right now. So Yep. I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody for taking this time to hang out with us today. These town halls mean a lot to me. It makes me feel really grounded and connected to the FC, and I hope it helps you guys feel even more of a sense of community to what we have in the day-to-day day-to-day process in the FC. So if you have anything you want to talk, any feedback, we do have a feedback submission on the website you can use. It can stay anonymous if you want. If you have any feedback you want to give the FC, there's a member feedback section on the website. Just don't put your name if you want to stay anonymous, and you can put a fake email address in if you want, but please know that your feedback is incredibly important to me especially, not just me but also the whole leadership team. Because without our members, we would not be an FC, and that's what we're here for. So thanks again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Or Friday, oh my god, Friday. It's a long weekend for us here in Canada, so. And one last thing I want to add is that tonight's Powerball will happen tomorrow. just because I won't have enough time to organize it in the next 20 minutes. So tonight's Powerball will be tomorrow. Kellen, if you still want to do Who's That Waltz, you can today, but otherwise I will do the Powerball tomorrow at 11 p.m. Eastern. So, all right, have a fabulous night, everybody. Bye. Waltz Riders is at 9 o'clock, I think, right? And Powerball's at 11. Okay, well, we'll look. Anyways, thanks, everybody. Bye.